Two words: made in America. And made in America is the Canik MC9 Prime, a gun that is probably one of the coolest guns of 2025 and may win Gun of the Year 2025. Bold claim, I know, but Canik USA came out swinging. Welcome to the audio-friendly review of the Canik MC9 Prime. This is a gun that Canik USA sent over to me for review on the Armed Atlas YouTube channel. So if you watched a commentary video that I did on this podcast channel and we're like, hey, this is a weird review, it wasn't a review. We just were sharing some thoughts on the gun, some things that it could have been just a little bit different, just kind of sharing some thoughts, bantering back and forth. And some of you guys took that really seriously, and I think it hurt some feelings. So I wanted to hopefully reach out to you guys again and share some additional thoughts on the MC9 Prime, some things that I really enjoy about it. We probably won't cover anything that we really don't love about it, and that's only because there's nothing that I don't really love about it. The only thing, we'll get to that. We will cover at least one thing, right? So this is an audio-friendly version. We'll actually upload this to the podcast RSS feed so that people who are listening can maybe hear a little bit about this firearm. I received no money to talk about this gun. I wish I would have been, but that's just not how this works. Not with Canik, not with me. So at least not at this point. So let's talk about this firearm. This firearm is super cool. It's got compensators. It's got a super aggressive grip texture on the back and front strap. It's got pretty much everything that you need to feel comfortable carrying and shooting. But it's also for a really, really, really good price considering the offer and considering the market currently. Unfortunately, it is creeping up there into, let's say, Glock 19, Glock 45, Glock 17, Glock 47 territory. Which is about 650 galactic credits. But if you are getting into one of those firearms, you're getting none of these features and kind of just a boatload of homework to do in regards to what can you upgrade and what can you do, what can you not do, grip angles that are questionable, lower capacity. And this, I mean, shoot, we talk about like Glock 19, right? This is about the same size as a Glock 19. Like if we're being serious, just a bit thinner, and it comes with 17 rounds right out of the box. So that's super exciting for those who are like ammunition and capacity sensitive, like myself. So kind of keep that in mind. In addition, this actually comes with a lot of cool, little stylish points, like the slide cutout where it says Prime right on the top of the barrel. It's got a little cutout that says Prime, which is super cool. Like, why haven't we done this in the past? But also it's got really practical things like high-vis front sights, blacked out rears, which is something that you generally will see in like race and competition guns. Staccatos have been doing it for years, having really just kind of focused iron sights for those who are still interested in using iron sights. And there's plenty of people out there who are using iron sights. So let's make sure to show those guys some love. And in addition to being blacked out rears, it's also tritium front, tritium back, so that we are able to have glow in the dark night sights on a gun that is still $650. If you went and bought yourself a Glock, I'm a Glock guy. I carry Glocks for work. You're not getting that. You got to go replace those sights and spend maybe $100 to get something nicer. That said, let's kind of talk about one of the things that makes this gun interesting, but also may scare some people away. Let's just talk about it real quick. I'm not trying to dog it. I'm just saying, like, hey, let's talk about it. So this gun does have a built-in compensator. The last gun that Canik put out that had a compensator, some people reported on the comment section that we did a few videos on it, and in the comment section, some people did share that they were having some issues. I talked to Canik USA. They had some thoughts on what it could be. Sometimes it's grip related, sometimes it's spring related, and their fix was to provide an upgraded spring. Did that fix everybody's issue? I couldn't tell you. But what I do know is that Canik has tried it again. They went with a tri-port like style. It's got 3 holes, one at 12 o'clock and then one at like, how would you say, like 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock on the top of the barrel. I mean, barely, right? So we can kind of get some compensation, some gases directing upwards to help force that barrel back downwards and redirect that energy and kind of give you a more pleasant shooting experience. My issue with the previous Caniks, like say like the TP9s, is they felt a little flippy. They did. I wasn't a big fan. I like the metas. I like the rivals. And I even like the TTI Combat, but all those guns had a little bit of flip. The rival and the TTI Combat, much less. This one, I think, is a lot less snappy than it could have been. I think the ports are working for that. And I can tell you that because I've run all sorts of ammunition through this during the 300 round review. We were running, excuse me, we ran Federal 124 hollow points through it. We ran a couple other rounds to really kind of push it. We ran some Fiocchi 115s. We haven't run anything 147, unfortunately, and maybe by the time we get done with the 1,000 round review, we'll talk about the 147. But if you go back and watch the reviews that I did on the Armed Atlas YouTube channel, and if you went and watched this review on YouTube, you actually see some footage that we're playing where some of the shots, you kind of do notice there's a little bit more flip than others, but when you do kind of master your grip and kind of focus on getting shots on target, you can really manage that recoil, and it's not too bad. Not for a gun as narrow as this is, and that's kind of where a lot of the issues come in, is when you have a narrow gun. So the compensator, I believe, is working to get you those results. My question had been before, is there any way we can maybe use, well, the question was, how do we know exactly how far this compensator is working when we don't have a version of this gun that's not comped? There's probably some guys out there who want the version of the gun that's not comped, right? Now, somebody in the comment section was kind enough to mention that there was an LS version of the MC9 that isn't comped and that should be compatible. I reached out to my guy at Canik. He hasn't answered me yet, so I really couldn't answer that. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, well, you should know. I know. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll find out, and then we'll follow up. And hopefully you're following along to get that follow up. At this point, let's kind of go back through and see some of the major points on this gun. One of the beautiful things about this gun is how glorious the serrations are. If you own a Hellcat or Hellcat Pro or even a Glock, or you notice that some of those serrations aren't that deep. You can manipulate the gun just fine, but this is like a freaking cheese grater. Like, it will catch your fingers and just allow that press check to happen ever so naturally. You'd be able to John Wick press check this. You'd be able to one hand press check it if you really want to. No problem, because those serrations, the carvings on the side of the gun, on the side of the slide rather, that will help you to kind of grip the slide, to actuate it, to kind of let you either see what kind of ammunition you have, to clear malfunctions, whatever you need to do. Those are super deep, and they're wonderful. Super deep. It's great. Moving down the slide, we go to where the slide lock lever, slide release. I'm not great with the name of that. Somebody in the comment section was struggling with me, and I was like, man, we're in the same boat. This is a great plus for my lefties out there in the world. This gun actually has an ambidextrous slide lock lever, and it's oversized. There's pros and cons to that. Let's talk about pros and cons. I know you guys are funny about the pros and cons. My Canik fanboys, a little funny about the pros and cons. The con is, and I ran into this in my initial review, is if you got your thumbs kind of in an upward position and not down and under it, or even on it, potentially, if you're locking in, you're trying to manage that recoil, you're going through a build drill, that slide, when it goes back, will go back and then go back into battery, as in the slide will keep going forward and not catch on that slide lock, causing you to think, oh, something's wrong. Maybe I'll go through a malfunction drill, tap and then rack, and then you realize, oh, the gun's empty, no malfunction. Not usually the biggest deal, but it does add some steps if you wanted to do a tactical reload, because generally with the tactical reload, you gotta, from an empty gun with the slide lock back to the rear, take your magazine and insert it into the gun, and then once that fully loaded magazine is inserted, you can hit those oversized slide releases and boom. I know that was really loud for my podcast listeners, but boom, you are able to get that gun back up, get it into the fight, get that gun up. Yeah, you're able to do that. And it's one of those things where when it works, it works. But if you are riding that slide lock lever, that slide release, that slide thingamajigger, it's going to be a little bit harder. So not a deal breaker, but something to be aware of when you're out there training. Maybe get your thumbs a little bit lower. I'm not telling you what to do. Just maybe think about it. Another cool feature is this does come optics ready. People back in like 2023 and 24 were like, every gun that comes out should be optics ready. And it seems like we're following that trend, especially with guns like this that are fully loaded out the box. This comes with the RMSC footprint, so we're able to run optics like the Holosun SCS carry, which is a fantastic option. I know that Holosun makes their mechanic MO4, which is like enclosed, and it looks pretty cool, looks pretty aggressive, and I think it's seems like it's a good option. It's enclosed. I love an enclosed optic. The only thing about that is it's not the RMR optic footprint, so you're not going to be able to run one of these 507 competitions. If you would like to win one of these, whether it's the Holosun 507 competition, the Shooters Global SC Timer Go, or even some of these, I have two right here with me, Holosun Raids, there's a way to win them. All you have to do, look in the show notes, the video description for the Discord channel. Go to the Discord channel, say hello. Make sure you say hello. Somebody will point you to the sign-up sheet. Once you go to the sign-up sheet, it'll tell you everything you need to know. It'll say, oh, since you're in Discord, you get one free entry. If you didn't want to be in Discord, there will actually just be a sign-up sheet. Just go to the sign-up sheet and say like, okay, well, I don't want to go to Discord. I don't want one more app, but I will support you for like $5 a month on the YouTube channel. And when you do that, we'll give you like 10 extra entries. So however you want to do it, is however you want to do it. But I at least want you to join us and be in cool gun community and potentially win Holo 7 507 comp. I think this is a cool gift. It's an expensive gift. I don't want it. I want you to have it. Join us. So back to the show. I spent a lot of time on that. What are some other things that are cool about this gun? We're going to skip the trigger because that's like the star of the show. And we're going to go to the loaded chamber indicator. Let's one more time make sure that this gun's clear because I'm paranoid. I'm so paranoid. We do not need any negligent discharges in the house. Always just know the state of your gun and check it. But once you are pointed in a safe direction, you can see that there's a loaded chamber indicator, or the striker is primed indicator right here. And then once you pull the trigger, that goes away. So as you present the gun, you are able to kind of see if the gun is ready to go or not. Obviously, you should know the state of your gun, yada, yada, yada. But little features like that will help you to understand what's going on. Just little indicators. One more safety feature is not going to kill you unless it actually inhibits the proper function of the gun. And this gun functions wonderfully, so we're not worried about that. There's two major things we got to talk about. I mean, there's a few things that are great, like full-size pick rail. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit just everything, so it's not technically full-size, but it looks full-size. It's like a 1913 style, and unfortunately, I don't have anything that fits it, so I'm like kind of bummed about that. And then we have, kind of going back to the gun, this trigger. Let's spend like 15 minutes talking about the trigger, because the trigger is freaking awesome. Once you I mean, it's the same style trigger that you saw in the Canik Rival. It's the same style trigger that you saw in the TTI Combat. Large, textured, and 90-degree break. You take it up to that wall. It's very smooth going up. There's no, can I get it back? Nope, no problem. You see that wall? I don't feel any real give in between the wall and that where that spring kind of takes me. You apply a little bit more pressure. Boom, just like that, super short break. And then the reset it feels like it might be even shorter. You let your finger up just a little bit. It kind of gives it a little bit of push, and you take it up, you take it back millimeters, like it's super short. And Is there a con to that? Maybe you might accidentally bump fire, but I doubt it because the trigger does require a bit of effort to pull. It's not bad, but it is, I feel like, safe for concealed carry. Some guys are like, hey, is this a carry trigger or a race gun trigger? This is a carry trigger. It's not stupid light. It's not some 3-pound trigger. And I know we shouldn't talk about trigger weights on YouTube because the YouTube is funny about that, but you know what? Who cares? Magazine release, solid. And here's another star of the show, something that is extremely notable: the texturing all around. There's texturing on those little index points where your thumb goes. It's not a full edge, just some texture to kind of help you to remember where to be. There's texture on the trigger guard. I don't ever use the trigger guard for control. That's not what I do, but it's available to you if you need it. And then we have texture. Of course, there's a double undercut under the trigger to kind of help you to get up in that gun and without hurting your knuckles, because, you know, with the Glocks, you really need to actually do that. Glock knuckles a thing. It's kind of painful if you're not careful. But there's extremely good traction on the front of the gun. It doesn't hurt. Like with the TTI Combat, it actually kind of hurt if you dug in too deep. Little tiny pyramids on the front. That's the texturing. Little tiny pyramids on the back. If you really look at anybody's reviews, look at my review, really any review will let you know that there's little tiny little pyramid texturing on the back, and it's fantastic. I love it. The sides are much less aggressive. Reminds me kind of the Springfield texturing, where if you push down on it, you get some traction, but if you're just brushing on it, it's not that bad. Once you pop that magazine out, magazine release is interesting because the mags do kind of stick about right here. If you got to make sure you slam that bad boy in with enthusiasm. No breaks, no days off with that. But that's not an issue if you just do it the right way. But I did fool myself into thinking the mag was all the way in because I just kind of slid it in. I didn't think about it. There was one time where I was like, oh, shoot, that's not all the way inserted. Make sure it's all the way inserted. And then there's a bit of a mag well at the bottom. I believe this is aluminum, and it's nice. It's just a good little ledge to kind of keep you stuck on the gun. It's nothing crazy. It's not going to just, just a little bit of a guide there to help you make sure you nail that reload. But that's about it. Nothing too crazy with that. Man, I feel like we hit all the major points of this gun. Somebody's going to be like, well, how accurate is it? How this, how that? You know what? Hit me up when we get to the 1,000 round review. We've done some additional testing using the Mantis X10. We partnered with Mantis to get one of those in. And if you guys wanted to buy one, we have a link down below where you can buy it, and it helps us out a little bit. I don't need you to buy one, but I think if you want to do the same kind of testing we're doing, or if you want to test your skills and drills and whatnot, it's a pretty good app, and it's actually really effective. So if you were thinking about it, use our link. That said, we did some testing with the X Macro. This is a Radian X Macro. I'll show you guys down here. It's a Radian X Macro, which is just the X Macro lower, P365 upper, and a Radian ramjet afterburner barrel. So pretty much just an X Macro that we made in a lab. And this shot less good. According to the limited sample size that we had, it shot less well than the Canik Prime, which has a longer barrel, more weight to it, and is a newer gun. So you'd think that they'd find a way to make it just a little bit better. I think it's really, really good. It also beat out the original X Macro that you can buy from SIG. And I think it's in competition with like the TAC Ops, which is basically a P365 barrel, full length barrel all the way, full heavy slide, all that. It's a little bit closer. I think that was a little bit closer. That said, we'll be doing some additional measurements and data gathering as we get closer to that 1,000 round review. And if you guys want to see the updates on that, of course, you can go down to the Discord channel and become a member. If you're a YouTube member, we'll get you access to the Discord channel, show you some behind the scenes stuff for that special members only section where we can actually share some of that stuff, because got to make it special for those guys. But also on the other side, when that video finally does come out, we will see who won. did the X Macro get beat at its own game? The X Macro was like the first guy to come out with, first, firearm to come out with like integrated. It's not the first. Like people have been doing it, but they really kind of popularized it. And the question has always been to make the comp work. Like we were talking to David, the Humble Marksman, we had a whole conversation about comps. And we were like, to make the guns work with all sorts of different ammo, you really can't push that comp too hard. You can't tune it perfectly. And so the question is, was the Canik Prime nerfed at all to make sure that it was compatible with all sorts of ammunitions available, from the stuff that your uncle kept from back in the 90s to, whatever you can buy on the shelf today? Probably, yeah. But I think it's good enough for government work, good enough for you and me, and good enough to win Gun of the Year, in my opinion. So what say you? Are you excited to buy the Canik Prime? Do you think I wasted your time here today with a almost 22-minute review? Guys, if you're here this long, appreciate you. Say the words MC9. Just say MC9. MC9 only in the comments if you're here at the end. And I'm going to give you one of those little hearts and, say hello to you and give you a special hello. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. And if you're on podcasts, please reach out to me on like social media or hop into the Discord and just let me know where you're listening from. I would love to connect with you guys. I love connecting with you guys and having conversations. And make sure you're subscribed over on YouTube, because we do stream like once to twice a week if we're not making a video like this. And I would hate for you guys to miss it just because you prefer podcasts. And of course, once you connect with me, let me know if potentially you would like me to put some additional content over on the podcast side, because I know I've been slacking. But if you miss the content, let me know, and maybe it'll encourage me to kind of push some more stuff over there. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think? X Macro or Canik Prime? All right, peace.